In these days we are studying about the sectors. Which sector is more important in our country, whether primary, secondary or tertiary? Primary sector related to the agriculture, secondary related to the industry, tertiary related with the services. There are two studies. One is income share and another one is employment share of these sectors towards GDP. First one is income share. When we study about the income share, primary sector was in its maximum share towards the GDP in 1970s after independence. You have studied about the Green Revolution, which was happened in 1960s to 1970s. So the maximum income share occurred from the primary sector towards the GDP, and the share of secondary and the tertiary, it was in its minimum during 1970s. But when it comes into 2010, after 40 years, the income share of the primary sector reduced, and the income share of the secondary and more than that the tertiary sector increased towards the GDP. So after 2010, now we can understand more income share comes from the GDP from the tertiary sector towards the GDP in these days, and the primary sector's share reduced. But when we study about the employment share towards the GDP, primary sector, its employment share towards the GDP, it was not reduced in these 40 years. How much employment was provided by the primary in 1970s? Almost the same, now also shared by the primary towards the GDP. But the tertiary and the secondary, its employment share is not increased in these 40 years as we are expected. As the income level increased from the tertiary, according to that the employment share from the tertiary is not increased at all. So there is a difference we are able to understand. Income share from the primary reduced, but employment share from the primary is not reduced at all. When it comes into secondary and tertiary, especially tertiary, we are able to see that income share from the tertiary increased, but employment share towards the GDP from the tertiary is not increased as it is expected. Why this difference occurs between the income share and the employment share from primary, secondary and tertiary towards the GDP? So first I will explain about importance of service sector. Why the service sector becoming more and more important in the last 40 years? This we have to study first. Why the income share towards the GDP from the tertiary is increased, or why the tertiary is becoming more and more important? First one, as a developing country, India requires majority of the services, infrastructural development. All the developing underdeveloped countries are in need of the basic services or infrastructural facilities like transport and communication, health, police department, various other things are the basic services are the which only the tertiary sector can provide. So government of these countries, especially in our country, try to develop the tertiary sector because of this development factor. Second one, agricultural and industrial development. If the agriculture and industrial development occurs, if they want to develop, first of all they should develop the tertiary sector. Transport and communication, which is required for the development of agricultural and industrial development. So this transport and communication, the banking, insurance, this all goes to tertiary sector. So only with the tertiary sector, development of tertiary sector, the agricultural sector and the industrial sector can develop. Third point is income of the people increased. Income level of the people increased in these days, especially after 2000, 2010 and all. People are interested more to invest more in the service sector, buying a new mobile phone, buying the laptops, going outside for taking food. These type of things, facilities are provided by the service sector or the tertiary sector. And the last point is income in any country. All the new services are developed in the tertiary sector, not in the agricultural and the industrial sector. All the services, new developments are mostly occurred in the service sector or in the tertiary sector. So the importance of service sector is more important in the last 40 years because of these 4 reasons. Next video I will explain about why the development of the primary sector, employment structure, employment share towards the GDP is not changed from the primary sector. Okay, thank you.